Now, Mary Leakey, of course, did not believe that there were humans like us living in East Africa almost 4 million years ago. So how did she explain the footprints? Well, she said there must have been some type of hominid who had feet exactly like modern human feet, and that's how the footprints were made. It's an interesting proposal. It's possible, of course. Unfortunately, at the present moment, there is no physical evidence to support that idea. You know, we have the skeletons of the hominids that existed at that time. There are varieties of Australopithecus, and none of them have feet exactly like modern human feet. Generally, they have toes that are somewhat longer than modern human toes. They have a first toe that can extend out to the side like a human thumb, and their feet have other ape-like features. So maybe someday in the future, someone may discover some variety of hominid that had feet exactly like modern human feet, but at the present moment, the only creature known to science by physical evidence that has a foot exactly like a modern human being is a modern human being. So, what did Mary Leakey actually find? I believe she found evidence that humans like us were present in East Africa about 4 million years ago. Now, somebody might say, well, footprints are one thing, but wouldn't it be better if you had human skeletons, of that age? And such things do exist. In the 19th, well, this is an anatomically modern human skull found by the Italian geologist Giuseppe Ragazzoni at a place called Castanello in northern Italy. It was part of an almost complete anatomically modern human skeleton, and he found the bones of 3 other individuals in the same place. A couple of years ago, I went to Italy to try to relocate the site where he made these discoveries. I went with an Italian friend to Castanello, and in the neighborhood we met this elderly gentleman who knew something about the location of the site. He had in his possession a very detailed 19th century geological report which gave critical information that did allow us to relocate the place where this discovery was made. So Ragazzoni had found these human skeletons in an excavation that he made. The skeletons were found in Pliocene deposits about 4 million years old, and of course they were anatomically modern. Now, when many scientists today hear about a discovery of an anatomically modern human skeleton in some impossibly old layer of rock, they say, look, there's no mystery about this whatsoever. It's very easy to explain. Only a few thousand years ago, somebody died up here at this level. His friends dug a grave, and they put the body down here, covered it over, and that's why, you think you found some anatomically modern human skeletal remains in some Pliocene formation in Italy. Now, such things can happen. They do happen. Technically, this is called intrusive burial. But Giuseppe Ragazzoni himself, the original discoverer, was a professional geologist, and he was very, very well aware of this problem. And actually, if you go back to his original reports, you'll see he considered it very carefully. He said, if it had been a burial, then the overlying layers of rock would have been disturbed, as we see here. And he said he looked very carefully when he was extracting the skeleton from the ground. And he said all the overlying layers of rock were perfectly intact. And actually, he said that each layer had its own microstratification. In other words, each of these layers was made of hundreds of other small paper-thin layers of deposits, and all of those were undisturbed. So the indication is that the skeletons really did belong in the layers in which they were found, in this case about 4 million years old, which is roughly the same age as the anatomically modern human Laetoli footprints. So I could give you many, many more cases of discoveries of anatomically modern human bones and footprints and artifacts going back 5 million years, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but that would take too long, so we're going to fast forward a little bit. This is Carlos Ribeiro. He was, in the late part of the 19th century, the chief government geologist of Portugal, and he found hundreds of human artifacts in his country of Portugal. He found them in lower Miocene deposits about 20 million years old. Now, when he was living, he displayed the artifacts in these cases here in the Museum of Geology in Lisbon, with labels indicating a lower Miocene age of 20 million years. But, you know, if you go to the museum today, you're not going to see those artifacts there anymore. They're kept locked in these cabinets down here. Now, a couple of years ago, I was researching a paper that on Ribeiro's discoveries that I later presented at a meeting of the European Association of Archaeologists. When I was doing the research, I went to Lisbon, and I went to the museum, and I got permission from the director to open up these cabinets here and to study and photograph some of these 20 million year old artifacts from Portugal. Here are some close-ups of some of them. It's an assistant of mine taking photographs in the museum. And by studying some of the old maps and field notes and documents left by Ribeiro in the museum, we were able to go out into this countryside of Portugal and relocate some of the original sites, which was not an easy task. But we did find some of them, such as the quarry at Morganera, where Ribeiro made some of his discoveries. This is one of the artifacts he discovered there with his original label on it. But it's interesting what happened. As I said, when he was alive, he displayed the artifacts in the museum with labels indicating an age of 20 million years. After he died, his colleagues in the museum did something very interesting. They left the artifacts on display, but they wrote new labels for each of them. They thought, 20 million years ago, that's impossible. Human beings couldn't have existed 20 million years ago. So they thought, well, let's just write some new labels. So this is the new label they wrote for the artifact I just showed you. This line gives the age. It says Paleolitico Superior, Upper Paleolithic. Now, according to archaeologists today, the Upper Paleolithic period in Europe goes back about 20,000 years. So they thought 20 million years, that's impossible. 20,000 years sounds about right for artifacts like these. So they wrote new labels for everything. And then the next generation of officials in the museum simply put the entire collection away. And I think I'm the first researcher to see these artifacts in about 50 years. Similar case from Belgium, the Belgian geologist Routot. He discovered hundreds of human artifacts in his country of Belgium. And by studying some of his old maps and field notes and records, which are kept in the Royal Museum of Natural Sciences in Brussels, I was able to relocate some of the places where he made these discoveries. For example, this is the quarry at Boncel, which is near Liège in Belgium. He discovered hundreds of human artifacts deeply embedded, solidly embedded in these bottom layers of the quarry. And according to modern geologists, those layers belong to the Oligocene period and are about 30 million years old. Now, a Vedic archaeologist would not have any problem thinking that human beings were existing 30 million years ago on this planet. As a matter of fact, a Vedic archaeologist might be prepared to find evidence for a human presence going much further back than that, all the way back to the beginning of the day of Brahma. But for most archaeologists and anthropologists today, this is completely impossible.